Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Look Forward. I'm your host, Jay. I'm here with my co-host, Brad.
Jay, do you know what the sound of hundreds of right-wing dummies screaming into a void sounds like?
No, because I don't look at the chat.
I don't know either because I can't hear it.
Liberals with their opinions that don't agree with us. So we just finished doing the live Pennsylvania debate between John Fetterman and Dr. Oz. At the time, before I started it, there were like 1,600 people waiting to get in, which is cool. A lot of right-wingers, man. It had to be like 50-50.
It was probably more right-wingers than left-wingers. Like, I feel like we lost a lot of folks once we started letting the lib show in the commentary a little bit.
Yeah, I think when I said, like, I called Dr. Oz Dr. Nick Riviera, they were like, these guys are fucking liberals. Like, they got so mad immediately. I'm going to downvote this and stay in the chat and yell for an hour. Like, all right, well, keep that engagement going, my man.
Yeah. Thanks, bro. So if you missed that, definitely check that out on YouTube, or you're posting in the podcast feed too, aren't you?
Yeah, it will be in both places.
Cool.
And then accompanying that is our post-debate sort of breakdown of what we thought. So, all right, so a shorter show since we got like kind of two shows going this week. First up, liberal Democrats step on their own dicks and release a letter critiquing Biden's Ukraine strategy by mistake. An intern did it. Oops. The same.
When the fuck are people gonna learn that if you have something in the world that exists tangibly, like it physically exists, and you don't want someone to see it, and you're in a prominent position of power, it's gonna see the light of day eventually. Like if you don't want people to see it, get rid of it. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, much like a Herschel Walker baby, get rid of it. So look, here's the thing. This is bullshit, and this is a prime example of liberal Democrats really fucking themselves over and not understanding like moments. Not that they're necessarily wrong, though I think they are in this particular case. I actually do think they're wrong, like quite fundamentally wrong, but also missing the moment, right? Like missing an understanding of like politics isn't just about being right. Again, I don't even agree with them here, but it's not just about being right. It's also about timing, right? Like you can be right about something. It doesn't mean you always say it in the moment, because sometimes like you give space for the people you're actually fighting against, like you're truly fighting against, you actually give them a bonus to hurt your own team, right? Like it's a thing that I find that a lot of liberal Democrats tend to miss, right? So this letter that came out of Progressive Caucus Chair Pramila Jayapal's office, it basically was like, listen, and apparently this was written like a number of months ago, they're saying. Right?
It was written back in June.
Yeah.
Notably when the war was kind of at like a not a standstill, but like Russia was making more inroads essentially.
Right. Like it looked like it was going to be pretty bad for Ukraine, right? And so they had written this letter and 30 Congress members signed it, right? And it was like, listen, we need to just negotiate directly with Russia and like to end this, right? Like, don't worry about Ukraine. Like, just get at a table with Russia so we can negotiate a peaceful settlement of this and like and end this shit. Well, here's the thing. Things changed. And Ukraine is on the
pretty drastically, in fact.
Pretty drastically, but also pretty fast after June, right? Like that like, yeah, that was happening, and people were like, "Oh my god!" And then it was like 3 weeks later, it was like, "Oh shit!" Like, like things have taken a turn. And so again, even though they think they were right, again, I don't agree with them that we should have negotiated past, because they're talking about just looking past Ukraine, looking past Zelensky as the leader of fucking Ukraine, and then just dealing with Putin directly.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that, like, from a diplomacy standpoint, that's a good idea. Any diplomacy, Zelensky needs to be in the room. Ukraine needs to be represented by Ukrainians. Like, I think it's a crazy move. But I get the liberal Democrats' perspective. It's like, two superpowers, let's talk about it and try to fucking work this out, right?
Mm-hmm. You mean progressive Democrat, by the way, when you're talking about the letter.
Yeah, I'm talking about the
liberal Democrats are the ones that are like, oh my God, I can't believe that you would say this. Like,
yeah. Progressive Democrats. We're talking about like AOC, like the the squad, like that wing of the party, right? So I think you have to understand that, again, timing is really important here. Mm-hmm. And then this comes out, and this is where I don't actually think it was a mistake. I think they threw it out there to see, is this a viable thing that we can say?
Are you sure? Because, like,
2 weeks before the fucking election, who the fuck put this out, man? That's crazy.
But I'm saying, like, but that's what I'm saying. Like, they didn't. That's why there's no way they fucking would have put it out on purpose. Like, why? Like that's nuts. Like that? No, absolutely not. Like, because what you're doing is, like, a lot of the people that signed this reacted like, "What the fuck?" Like, because you threw.
Yeah, no, I don't think they knew. I don't think they knew it was coming out. But I do think that there is. I think there, and like I've seen people assign it like, oh, there's going to be like, it was like an underhanded, like a secret thing or whatever. No, I don't think that's what it is. I think that there is like a weirdness. I truly believe this. I think there is a general weirdness that these more progressive Democrats, again, who we agree with on a lot of shit. Sometimes their methods are garbage, this being one of them. I think they feel uncomfortable agreeing with mainstream Democrats for too long. And they're like, oh, I gotta separate myself.
So instead you want to float an idea out there that's agreed with by like the most right-wing like pro-fascist Republicans.
No, I know.
For very different reasons, mind you, but still, like,
right. But that was true.
Tenor.
Right, but that was true in June. In June. Like, it's not like Republicans suddenly came to this like, oh, I don't think we should fucking help Ukraine, or I don't think we should be giving them unlimited money. They didn't just come to this. They've gotten louder because they think that maybe that could win over people. It's like, dude, I think the U.S. is pretty cool. Like, population-wise, is like pretty cool with like helping Ukraine kick the shit out of Russia. Like, I know right-wingers who fucking jerk off the Vladimir Putin pictures. They aren't cool with it. But I think for the most part, people are like, nah, we're cool with that. Like, that's actually what a superpower should do when it's defending democracy around the world, right? So
I think this also takes like this idea that a lot of progressive Democrats have, and that a lot of, again, far right-wing people have for very different reasons, that the U.S. should be anti-interventionist. And I think that you need to understand what intervention actually means. Like, I also support generally being anti-interventionist, but I mean that in terms of like, hey, let's make sure we're not putting boots on the ground unless there's really good cause to do so. It's in America's interest to make sure that Russia is being checked and that they're not expanding.
That's correct.
Like without someone pushing back on them. Yeah. Essentially. That's the kind of intervention and soft intervention that you want, like, and that you should want when someone's trying to overstep and test the sovereignty of countries in their region. You should want the U.S. as a superpower to be like, whoa, wait a second. Like,
hey guys, remember the last time? Hey, remember the last time the U.S. just stayed out of something and just waited and waited and waited to see if a big superpower would take over most of fucking Europe and all the countries near it? We had to wait until we were attacked to go, all right, we'll come in now. Yeah, that's why the U.S. actually learned a lesson. They're like, nah, fuck that. Like, because if you let them take Ukraine, you think that's the end? And that's basically where the more progressive Democrats, that's where they, and again, I don't think that they believe this, but this is what it looks like, is they're like, let's negotiate, fine, they get to keep, because any negotiation with Russia isn't going to be Russia leaves and nothing changes. Right. The Ukraine borders.
Well, they're going to keep Crimea, maybe the Donbass, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
Like that's
so if that is the ultimate negotiating, like, you're basically negotiating away parts of their country. That's not acceptable, dude. It's not acceptable. As I heard someone make this analogy, and I think it's correct. If Mexico suddenly invaded the U.S. and they were fighting with us and we're fighting with them, we wouldn't be cool if somebody came in and was like, all right, we'll negotiate between the U.S. and we'll negotiate with Mexico. If like China came in and was like, we'll negotiate with Mexico to stop this war. But like Mexico, you get to keep California. Like,
right.
What the fuck? The U.S. would be like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, no, we don't agree to those terms. Like, get out of here. So that's what it looks like when this letter comes out. But I do think there is this idea of like, they feel very uncomfortable being on the side of these establishment Democrats, especially from the perspective of like supporting this war. Like, I think they feel really fucking weird about that. Well, and they feel like they're not being true to who they are. And it's like, dude, you can be true to who you are, but this is bad fucking timing. It's bad timing.
Well, and what's funny about that is if you are going to find an area where you can have sustainable common ground, where there's not as much nuanced difference between your stances, foreign policy often can be that arena because it's not too hard to craft, a general foreign policy, a united foreign policy stance, right, as a country, exactly. Even across the aisle.
Yeah,
like most moderate Republican, like I gotta stop saying that term because it doesn't mean anything anymore.
They don't exist.
But most non-insane Republicans still at least like are on the same kind of foreign policy page as most liberal Democrats.
Yeah,
for the most part. So,
and the thing is, you can make those things happen. It is a thing that will probably work for the most part. But when you do things like this, it undercuts it. And I think it looks really bad. And they pulled that letter quick. The second those other people who started, they were like, yo, what the fuck? Don't put my name out there. And it's like, oh, yeah, an intern did this. I don't buy that.
Now the good news is this will have no bearing on the midterms because American voters don't fucking pay attention to foreign policy anyway when it comes to elections.
They don't give a fuck.
So they're not going to give a fuck about any of this.
Well, no, and it's also internal. Right? Like, Democrats aren't going to suddenly go, well, now I'm going to vote for a Republican. Like, no. Yeah. Anyone who goes on Twitter goes, well, I was going to vote for the Democrat, but then I saw the letter. That's bullshit.
This is a story specifically for nerds like us and you listening out there. So
yeah, and viewers like you.
That's right.
So yeah, I do think it's definitely a step on their own dick story, but I don't buy that it was an intern or whatever. Like, I just don't buy that. Like, I think they floated this out there to see how well it would play, and that shit did not play. And they're like, oh shit, scramble.
Like I said, I am not with you that this was some kind of a weird test balloon that they wanted to fly. I think I don't know how it happened, but I don't think it was. I don't think this was intentional.
Right. No, I'm sorry. I'm going to call you out, Brad. It's not a weird test balloon. How, dude? How? Some guy was like, I just saw this letter. I guess I'll just fucking send it on.
This is why this is why they tell corporations, like, you always have to check your scheduled tweets because you never know. Like you're always
scheduled tweets.
Scheduled policy letter.
Yeah,
oh shit, we forgot to hit don't say.
I forgot to hit. No, I've made a grave mistake. Yeah, you did. I scheduled this one for June 3rd, and it came out on October 23rd. My bad. Like, I don't know, man. My guess is there's going to be more to this story. My guess is there's going to be more. There always is there's going to be some like bullshit story that comes out like a week from now. Like, well, it turns out actually they thought that this was going to work out. Like, no, there's always more here, dude. I'm not buying it. Somebody thought this was a good idea, and it was really, really fucking not. Next up, 49-year-old looking 25-year-old Hope Hicks, former top advisor to the former president, Donald Trump, is interviewing with the January 6th committee. A woman that my wife once saw a picture and said, oh, that woman looks great for being in her 50s. And I was like, she's 28.
I don't understand why they want Hope Hicks to testify. I got to be honest. I understand that they're trying to get people from the president's inner circle or from the former president's inner circle to come in and testify about this stuff. But I don't know what the January 6th committee is going to do exclusively with like pants ironing tips.
Yeah, like she's a pants steamer, yo.
That's right.
She's a pants steamer. Yo, pants steaming. She really did that. It's fucking weird. Yeah, I don't think she gives up anything. And if she did, that would be fucking wild. The only thing I think that you could use Hope Hicks to do is to plant him in certain places and certain general behaviors that don't feel like big leaked things, right? Like that doesn't feel like she's like shitting on him. Like, oh no, he was definitely here at this time. He was over here at this time. He was watching TV at this time. He was eating dinner at this time. Like, that's all I think it does. And that might help to paint a picture of like his behaviors during the day. But I don't think you're going to get like the Hutchinson thing was like, then that dude tried to choke somebody out in a limo. You're never going to get that from Hope Hicks.
I'm only bothered by this testimony because once again, we have yet another example of a very mediocre white woman doing absolutely nothing to gain the prominence that she somehow gained despite being a non-contributor to anything, honestly.
Black women got to work their whole fucking lives to get on the goddamn Supreme Court. And here's pants steamer O'Houlihan fucking making it up to the January 6th committee. She's done nothing in her fucking entire life. Get out of here. Knock it off. Yeah, it's wild to me. Next up, Alaska's senior Republican senator and brand new and only U.S. House member have a lot in common. Lisa Murkowski and Mary Peltola are... This is very fucking weird, right? Like, so apparently Murkowski is backing Peltola over Sarah Palin.
I love that you can't say her name. It's you can say Murkowski, but you can't say Peltola.
I know. I mean, ironically, people spelled Lisa Murkowski's name right in a runoff where they had to do a write-in.
Right?
They got that name right. See?
Like, thank God Mary Peltola doesn't have to be a fucking writing candidate. She would never get in.
Yeah, that should be fucked. So Murkowski,
like people go like Peltola, Begovich, or Palin. Well, fuck, I guess I'll vote for Sarah Palin because I can actually spell her name. Like, fucking
forget it. Who cares, right? I love that she won that in a write-off campaign. That's just wild. Like, her name isn't like Susan Smith. Even people would fuck that up. So yeah, Murkowski is actually backing the Democrat here over Sarah Palin.
By the way, not only is Murkowski backing the Democrat here, Sarah Palin is backing the Democrat here. Sarah Palin also announced that Mary Peltola is going to be her second choice candidate on her ranked choice voting ballot, even ahead of Republican Nick Begovich. Because she's so fucking mad. No, she's mad at Nick Begovich for not bowing out of the race.
No, but she's gonna lose. She's gonna lose.
I know.
She's gonna lose.
I know.
Can you imagine being that petty? That you're willing to you're gonna throw away a house.
I mean, if I'm being honest, I can't imagine being that petty. Okay, absolutely.
Fair. That's fair.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, look, ranked choice voting is going to be the death of the Republican Party. Like, it really will, dude, because it actually gives these people a chance.
Not a moment too soon. Not a moment too soon. And here's,
I think it's hilarious
because the Republican Party is now insane. So the Alaska GOP, like the state GOP, censured Mitch McConnell because he supported Lisa Murkowski because she's supporting Mary Peltola. I can't like it's so. And how the fuck are they censoring him?
Yeah, what is that going to do?
Yeah.
Like
we in
dude,
Alaska
I'm never going to go there.
Mitch McConnell of Kentucky.
Like, dude, I'm never going to your state.
4,000 miles from here.
Right. Like, dude, I'm not even leaving the continental U.S. Like, get the fuck out of here. Who cares? Oh, you got me. You got old Mitch. Who gives a shit? Look, I think that's hilarious. Yeah, I think it is wild. It is wild to see. It's wild to see Sarah Palin, who was a candidate for vice president and came like a decently close to, thankfully her and John McCain didn't win, but they came dangerously close to putting that moron in the vice presidency, and now she can't even win a fucking House race.
To be fair, she also, like, to run in that race in 2008, bailed the fuck on the state. So I get why the state might be a little... No,
they hate her guts, dude.
I get why the state's like holding a grudge. And it's kind of the same thing, right? Like is Bill de Blasio not even being able to make like the top 4 in a congressional seat race, being the former 2-term mayor of New York City.
Yeah. Like he got like 400 votes. They were just like, get fucked, bro. So yeah, look, I do love that. I love the sort of the general irony of that, but it is wild considering like she was the prototype for what we have now in the Republican Party. She's a prototype for Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert and like Matt Gaetz. She is the prototype for that. We don't have it on the docket this week. We probably should. Marjorie Taylor Greene is going around saying like she's being seriously considered as Trump's VP choice.
I mean, let's talk about that. It's not on the docket, but I think it's a worthy discussion.
Oh, of course.
I both want and really don't want this to happen. I only
really exactly don't want it to happen
because in the off chance that they win, right? Like that's holding a lot. That's like holding a match up to a fucking barrel of explosives. Like, as long as I don't touch it, like I'm fine. Like you're getting awful close, dude. Getting awful close. But at the same time, she would be an ideal running mate for Democrats because the whole reason that he picked Mike Pence was to have a more moderating force that regular, run-of-the-mill Republicans would be happy to get behind. She's crazy.
No, full on, dude. Full on.
Like she's arguably crazier than him. Like imagine him being the more sensible candidate on that ticket.
The funny thing is, I think she would have a similar effect that Palin had on McCain, which is I think and this might be the one reason. It's the one reason I think he won't pick her. I think she would start to siphon off popularity from Trump. Because you remember that? Like you remember when McCain ran and everyone's like, McCain, woo! And then he picked Sarah Palin. People were like, what? And then she started doing speeches and fucking right wingers were like, I like to have sex with her. I like her. Like they were fucking going crazy. And she started drawing bigger crowds and bigger reactions than McCain. Mm-hmm. McCain actually felt like the fucking VP in a way, right? Like as far as popularity. I think Marjorie Taylor Greene in this very moment with the MAGA crowd and as insane as they are and as nutty as they are, I think she could pull fucking interest from him. And I could see him being like, I don't know.
He would never let it happen. It'd be race to the bottom. I'm more racist. I'm more fascist.
I love Jewish space lasers. Like, that's my thing. Like, but I think it would actually, I think there is a decent chance that she could out crazy him. That it would fucking pull from him. She went to
speak in Nick Fuentes' political event. I'm appointing him to my cabinet.
I am now Nick Fuentes. Like I've changed my name to Donald Nick Fuentes Trump. I've
created a new cabinet position. Secretary of White Nationalism, Nick Fuentes. Congratulations, you're the first Secretary of White Nationalism.
You're like, yes, finally. Like, ugh, gross. So, like, I think there might be. I think you're right. I think there might be a race to the bottom.
It would absolutely.
But like, I don't know who else he could pick.
Again, he'd have to find.
Everyone would be crazy. Everyone would be crazy.
He'd have to find, like I said, another like Mike Pence like figure that could still be. Like a Mike Lee. Like I could see like a Mike Lee type being a potential VP candidate for him.
Okay. I could see Mike Lee. I could see that.
Yeah.
But I think they're all gonna be nutty. I mean, look.
Well, I mean, to be fair, every Republican pretty much is nutty at this point anyway. So
right. I mean, that's true. Like Mike Pence was on a panel the other day and they were like, well, what are your, would you support Donald Trump if he wins the nomination in 2024? And he was like, well, I think there's somebody that I would support before him. And it's like, okay, I get it. You're running. But how is Mike Pence going to run for president? Like, what's his argument? I support everything Donald Trump does?
This guy tried to murder me. This guy tried to send the bomb after me.
Like, but he can't say that. Like, he can't. He can't be like, they tried to kill me. Like, he can't say that. So he's got to be mealy-mouthed about it. And Donald Trump is going to take the fucking gloves off on Mike Pence, dude.
I basically sent people to murder this guy. He can't even acknowledge it. He can't even say that he doesn't like me. Pussy. That's how awesome I am.
Check the January 6th documents. I literally called him.
I got to tell you too, after seeing some of the highlights from the Florida gubernatorial debate last night as well.
Oh, God.
I kind of want to see Trump light DeSantis on fire, because DeSantis does not present well in a debate, and when challenged, he kind of just goes into, like, Charlie Crist was pushing back on him, and Charlie Crist stunned him into silence for like 30 seconds by just simply asking, "Why can't you commit to Floridians that you would serve out a full 4-year term as governor?" And his response
people started laughing.
Yeah,
he started laughing. It was like,
yeah,
oof, ouch. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing who he picks, because it will be very telling whether he thinks that he even needs a moderate voice in the Republican Party. I don't think that he thinks that he does. And here's the thing. I think he's right. I don't think he does either. I think he has evangelicals. I think the only thing that my guess is his strategy is red meat to the base as much as possible to just drive engagement up. I think that's it. I don't think there's any like, we need to win over the moderates or the independents.
The problem is, the more red meat he throws out to his base, the more energized he makes Democratic voters. Like Democrats didn't come out to vote for Joe Biden; they came to vote against Donald Trump.
Yeah, but look at that campaign. He didn't give a fuck. He didn't give a fuck. He thought by his sheer fucking gravitas that he could just will Republicans to him. And it didn't work. Well, it did work, but Democrats were like, oh, word? Fuck this guy. Like, get the fuck out of here, right? So, but I think if he picks someone like Marjorie Taylor Greene, or God forbid he does pick Marjorie Taylor Greene, dude, I think Democrats will come out bigger than they did to knock his ass out the first time. Because I think people would be like, no offense, that bitch is crazy. Like, there's no way we're letting that nutball near the office, dude. Because I think she's going to piss people off, right? And that's her whole job. She's a bulldog. Like, and I'm not saying it to be offensive, but that's what she is.
I like how you had to to clarify that.
Not saying it to be mean. Not saying to be mean. But like, she's just a bulldog for the political party. Like, she don't have any policy stances. Like, there's been this weird thing on Twitter. Like, Republicans have been just like tweeting like, vote freedom. Like, they've just been like tweeting these like phrases, and I'm just like, what? Like, what are you talking about? Right? Like, every comment underneath is like, you guys want to stop women from having their, like, from controlling their bodies. They're like, vote.
Oh, I have to tell you, I saw arguably the most perfect Republican candidate sign that I think I've ever seen, ever.
Oh boy.
So, unfortunately, around my neck of the woods. So I'm pretty sure I told you this. The redistricting, like with the new caucus, like Maryland redistricted, like they drew the lines differently. So you and I are now in the same congressional district. Like we get to vote in the, Maryland 7, the former Elijah Cummings seat. It's pretty great. Like, I'm very excited to vote for Kwasi Mfume instead of Dutch Frupersberger,
who's been there for a million years.
Right. Doesn't excite me at all. So Kwasi Mfume is running against this Republican named Scott Collier. And unfortunately, because of
best of luck, bro.
Yeah. But unfortunately, because of the area of town that I live in, I have to be bombarded with a lot of Scott Collier signs around. And the slogan on the Scott Collier sign is working together. And I'm putting working together in air quotes for real solutions. It literally has quotes around working together on the side.
We're not really going to be doing shit for you.
It's like, well, that's perfect.
Yeah, working together. You're absolutely right.
Hiding the message in plain sight. Good job.
Yeah. I give a shit. Like quotes. Scare quotes.
Like you're not supposed to put quotes around that. Like, but I don't mean it.
He's like, no, I made the sign on purpose. Like, this is what we call truth in advertising. Like,
and by the way, like, not only is there a lot of like officially printed Scott Collier signs, but because I can't imagine the Collier campaign is spending a shitload of money to get beat by 40 points by Kwasi and Fume in November, there are also a lot of like handmade Scott Collier signs around the official Scott Collier signs, which is also hilarious.
Fucking lame. Good. Get mad. Look, spoiler alert, Kwasi and Fume is going to fucking destroy him in that race. You're going to destroy him. Just like he destroyed that former stripper. Before. Like, knock it off, dude. He's a fucking icon. One, he's an icon in Maryland politics. Like, he's also the former head of the NAACP. He's an icon in like national, especially like from a minority standpoint, national politics. Also, he used to have a show in Baltimore that people used to watch back in the day. I was on an episode, by the way. I was in the audience.
Oh, were you? What were you doing?
I was in the audience. I asked a question. I don't remember the topic.
Oh, okay.
But I remember going, like, in grade school. That was my big moment. That's when I could have transferred and made my way into politics, and I did nothing with it, Brad.
But then you and I wouldn't be here today, so
that's true. I would be on television telling you that we're working together to help Maryland, in quotes. What the fuck? So yeah, maybe Marjorie Taylor Greene is the Veep. I don't know. I don't think it's that crazy to think that might be real. I
don't think it's crazy to think either. Again, like it's just, playing with a real live wire there to get that close.
I mean, here's the thing. I think it would be disastrous to have Marjorie Taylor Greene debate Kamala Harris. Dude, it's a disaster. Are you kidding me? She just hit the same line again. There's no vaccine for racism. Like, come on, dude. Like, this woman believes in a Jewish space laser, dude. I would be like, step aside, Butch. Like, I got this. Look, I'm actually like, if he actually picks Marjorie Taylor Greene, I'm the thing that makes me sad is that this, like, we don't have a time machine that Barack Obama and Joe Biden are running against them, and Joe Biden could debate Marjorie Taylor Greene because Joe Biden would fucking rip her, dude.
2008 Joe Biden,
dude. When he still had speed on that fastball, knock it off, dude. Knock it off. He'd have destroyed her. Like, you talk all the shit you want about Joe Biden, he wrecked Paul Ryan in that fucking debate. It wasn't even close.
Like he destroyed Palin first.
Yes, that's true. Right. In the 2012 debate, he destroyed Paul Ryan. It was like, Paul Ryan is the brain behind the Republican Party. He lifts weights. He's really smart. Joe Biden was like, I got this. bring this little punk up here and watch me embarrass him for an hour. And he did. He fucking hit the malarkey button on that dude all fucking night long. It was amazing. Oh, Joe Biden, 2008 Joe Biden or 2012 Joe Biden versus Marjorie Taylor Greene. Oh, that's what dreams are made of, dude. Like, come on, man.
Like I said, the thing that Biden does that my favorite debate move from Joe Biden is when they start attacking him, he just laughs at them. Like he just sits there irritating and laughs. It's irritating. It's so condescending. Like it's amazing.
Yep, it's a perfect jujitsu move, dude. Like, or a judo move. Like, it's like, I'm just gonna take all your bullshit, I'm gonna laugh it off, and I'm gonna push it right back in your face, dude, and just knock you down with it. Like, because like, you ever debate somebody online and like you're debating and you guys are having this heated debate, and then one person is just like, LOL, and you're like, fuck. Like, God damn it. Like, you hope you're the first one to do it, because once they start laughing at you, you're fucked. Because anything you're throwing at them, they just, like, even if behind the screen they're fucking like pissed, but they're like, LOL anyway. Like, it is a roadblock to any conversation, and it is amazingly effective. Yeah. I look, like, I'm sure he at some point will listen to this, but like Terrence was debating with a guy on Facebook, and he sent like a copy of it, because I don't use Facebook anywhere. He sent a copy of the conversation, and then at some point this guy was like insulting me or whatever, and he just put like a laughing face. He was like, "Yeah, this nigga's tight." Like he's super mad, and it just ended the conversation because it's like Terrence won. Like he won. He got this guy to like go all in. One, the guy was an idiot, but like to go all in, and he was like, "Hey, you're mad, aren't you?" And he was like, "Damn it!" Like they won. Like it's a great fucking tactic. So, spoiler alert: when you're debating with people online and you really want to pick somebody apart, just get them to go into deep waters, and the second they drop it,
you gotta wind them up first, and then just fucking lay the fucking LOL hammer down.
Yeah, you're like, God, Biden. Like it's the Biden move, man. It is. I've said for a long time, Terrence and Joe Biden, basically identical. It's hard to really see a difference. So yeah, man. Lisa Murkowski and Sarah Palin fighting against Sarah Palin to be in the House. That's where all this goes back to. This next story, and this is the last of our serious stories, but I remembered a story for this
I was wondering if you were going to put it on there.
Dude, exactly. Come on, we gotta reminisce. We'll get there. I miss them so much. I do.
Well, I mean, soon you'll know where to find them. So
it won't be hard. So this story, Biden, New York Times opinion article. Biden just clobbered China's chip industry. Look, this is not so much an opinion story. This is actually it's a pretty heavily fact-based story. So what happened? So Merrick Garland and the DOJ came out and made an announcement like they're doing a massive investigation, and they're going after these Chinese spies, right, inside the U.S. And this was like a big deal. Like, hey, they're doing a press conference, and it was kind of nuts because I'm like, oh shit, what is this going to be about, right? Because it's like, yo, Merrick Garland doesn't just pop up and like, I'm giving a press conference, surprise, motherfucker. Like, it's never a small thing, right? And he had Christopher Wray there and everything else. Like, there was some big guns in the room. And he came out about that, right? Because they're going after these Chinese spies who are basically threatening people and trying to shut down an investigation into a Chinese company, Huawei, or Huawei, or whatever it is, how it's pronounced.
Huawei.
Because they actually had like spyware and shit like that in their devices and tracking information in their devices, like their phones and stuff like that. And so the U.S. was investigating it. And so these Chinese spies were actually trying to shut it down, right? It was a big deal. This story, I think, is directly tied to it. And this story came out a couple of days before that, which is, so the computer chips, like microchips industry around the world is very democratized, or spread out.
And I can explain why. So for those of you who have never seen the 1985 dramatic force film that is A View to a Kill, you see what happens when one megalomaniac controls like the entire microchip industry in the world, and what he'll do to try and do that. So like what China might, and again, like I would expect that China probably saw this and got ideas. Like China would have tried to basically flood Silicon Valley. Like that's what they would have tried to do, to drown Silicon Valley and destroy all the technology centers. So we saw this movie, which I'm assuming was a documentary, and we said, you know what, we
lift a man above you.
That's right. We can't allow these bad actors to control the semiconductor industry, because that would be very bad.
Yes, that's exactly how it happened. A View to a Kill is a documentary. God, I hate you nerds. You're the worst. But it is true. There's actually a pretty good analogy.
There's one listener out there who I know is laughing right now.
He's like, yes, I love this. This guy is nailing it. Shut up, Micah. So these latest microchips, right, that are used from supercomputers to cell phones to fucking everything we do, right, around the world. How they are made? They are made by machine, like a specific machine, and there are very few of them in the world, right? Mm-hmm. The device is capable of working to build these microchips, like quite literally on a nano level. There are like 5 machines. One of them is, where does it say they are? Hold on. I want to make sure I get this right. Like there are five companies that make these particular machines, right? One is a Dutch company, one's a Japanese company, and 3 are Californian companies, right, in the US. And basically that's spread out for a reason. The reason being is that you do not want one country to control all of the microchip production or controlling the building of the machines to do this. Otherwise, that one country could go, we're no longer going to sell these machines, or we're no longer going to sell our microchips to the US, or we're no longer going to sell them to Sweden. Or if, let's say it's China and it's like, oh, Taiwan, did you want microchips? Well, we want to take you over. So go fuck yourself. Right. And so
again, my view to a kill analogy is making all the sense.
It's not wrong. I think it's obnoxious, but it's not wrong. So the idea here is that China was trying to basically corner the market, right? They wanted to be the company. They wanted to build these machines themselves, and they wanted to corner the market so that no one else, like Brad said, they wanted to flood the market with their chips, right? And or try to flood the market with their chips, thus pushing everybody out, right? You sell the chips for dirt fucking cheap. You lose money on them for years until you have flooded and destroyed the market. Then you own everything, right? Like it doesn't fucking matter, right? Same thing. A good analogy, besides a view to a kill, a good analogy for that is what Russia basically did with gas pipelines into Europe, right? Hey man, here's these gas pipelines direct to your fucking, directly into your country. Like, this is the best place to get it. It's cheap. Don't worry about it. We got you. Until we want to do some fucking, incursions into another country that you don't support. Well, we'll just turn that fucking tap off. Now what are you going to do? You're already fucked, right? So imagine the same thing with microchips. It would actually be worse, right? Because like people can use electric cars and stuff like that. But imagine if you couldn't get chips to make electric cars, or no phones, or like anything, right?
Like
military weapons.
It's like the documentary, The World Is Not Enough. You don't want one person to control all of the all of the fuel pipelines.
I swear to God, Brad. I swear to God.
There's a James Bond analogy for everything.
I swear to God,
in geopolitics.
Well, if you keep going, I'm going to tie you to a fucking chair, just like in the first Casino Royale movie, and we'll just see what happens. That's a brutal scene. Good God. No one appreciates that scene at all. No one. So yes, like a view to, or yes, like The World Is Not Enough. God, that movie sucks.
It really does.
Who's the villain of this movie? I don't know. Rupert Murdoch? I hate this movie. I hate it.
Oh, you're thinking of Tomorrow Never Dies.
Oh, Tomorrow Never Dies.
That's the Rupert Murdoch movie, which is why you should not give one person control of the major news organizations in the entire world.
Again, common theme in those movies: don't give all of the one industry to a megalomaniac. Incidentally, Rupert Murdoch is thinking about reteaming Fox with what's the name of his company?
News Corp or whatever.
Yeah, News Corp. Yeah, he's thinking about reteaming. I'm like, I don't need that. Like,
alternatively, Rupert Murdoch could just
die.
Just
like the movie, just like another James Bond movie, the villain could just die. That would also be fine. So basically, the Biden administration was like, "Oh, word, you guys are going to try to corner the chips market? How about this? How about we block it, and then we also stop you from even getting the technology to build the machines." Which is brilliant. And look, I think this has everything to do with them also understanding that this spyware shit is getting worse. And like, it's one thing to do your spyware and stuff like that, and like everybody spies on everybody, so like that's not that crazy. But to try to go into U.S. politics to try to shut down an investigation into it, that's what pissed off the Justice Department. It wasn't just the spying, which I'm sure they didn't care for, but it's trying to intervene into American politics. That's what pissed them off. And my guess is this chip move was kind of the first shot across the bow for that, which is fascinating.
I think that we, as a global marketplace, not just America, but a lot of countries around the world, have done a really poor job of figuring out the fact that there's a lot of technological commodities out there that need to be treated as the same thing, essentially, as access to water, access to food, access to electricity, access to, to heat, things that like we need to treat stuff like internet. We need to treat stuff like, microchips and stuff like that in these same veins, because our, as we talked about, like our technology, our way of life, and our survival relies more and more on stuff like this. And so this story is cool in one regard, but it also frustrates the shit out of me, because what do you always hear coming from the right? Biden's soft on China. Democrats are soft on China. Trump was fucking hard on China. This one move does more to be hard on China than anything Republicans have done since Nixon.
Right.
Maybe. you know what I mean? Like that,
right.
like that.
And that was just barfing on a dude.
And the problem is that this story doesn't translate well, or like you can't talk about it easily to people, because there's more nuanced understanding that's required to truly understand it.
Right. And it's boring. Like it's boring. Right. Like I find it fascinating. Like I read the New York Times article and I really did find it fascinating, but it's boring. And look, here's the best way that you could talk about this to get it to like middle America, fucking cheese sandwich eating Americans. If we don't do this, then we lose our military power because we use chips in military weaponry. Like in the article, even's like that part's really important, and I think that's the thing that people go, oh, or you could say, hey man, you wouldn't be able to get your phone.
Yeah, like that. I think that's the more compelling argument. Like, hey, you know how like you pay $800, you pay $1,000 for that iPhone in your pocket. What if you had to pay double that? What if you had to pay triple, 2.5 times that?
Right.
Because if we didn't do this, China could build this, monopoly, and then they could charge whatever they wanted. And then companies would have to jack prices up. Like that, I feel it, but again, that's still it's a hard issue to talk about, and it's hard to talk about against the fucking smooth-brained lizard shit that fucking American voters can't get past. I'm paying $3.75 at the pump. Like
inflation,
right? And so it's frustrating because again, this is a huge move. It's an impactful move. I mean, you talk about analysts in the story are quoted as saying like this could hamper, like this could set the domestic chip industry in China back
a decade,
literally decades.
Yeah,
literally decades, because they don't have the technology. Like this article also talks about how Chinese companies often have to hire American personnel in high-ranking positions because we have the expertise when it comes to manufacturing these. They don't have it locally. And one of the other things that these moves do is it makes it more difficult for Americans to work in the Chinese semiconductor industry.
Yeah, they basically were like, "Oh, did you want like a visa or whatever to go over there?" Nah, B, you can't. They're just like, "No, you can't. Fuck you. Like you stay over here." Right. That's devastating. And again, I said push them back a decade. You're right. The article says decades, right?
Well, I thought I said decades, but yes.
No, you did. You got it right. Decades. No, you got it right. Yes, I got it wrong. So like, and they had been working at this for a decade. So if you say, oh, well, Republicans are tough on China and Democrats aren't, this has been a thing for 10 years. Mm-hmm. And you didn't do shit on this.
Right. What did you do? All you did was make things more expensive for Americans.
Right.
Like you imposed tariffs that increase the cost of goods for people here. Didn't affect them in any way, shape, or form.
No,
made it more expensive for us to buy shit.
No, Brad. I specifically remember Donald Trump telling me, a classic American, a regular red-blooded American, that when you raise tariffs, that's the other country paying that money. And I remember, because my brain has wrinkles in it, that was bullshit. And that Republican voters were like, makes sense. And I'm like, all right, cool. Voting for Dr. Oz, are we? Like, dude, this is Econ 101. Why the fuck would China take the hit on that? They're like,
all that's happening is the cost is just going to get shifted to the next person, who's going to shift it to the next person, and ultimately the end user is going to pay for it.
That's right, dumb. Like,
kind of how it works. Dumb.
But they were like, no, that's what happens. You're paying less. I'm looking at I'm literally not paying less. I'm literally paying more. But again, if you're a Republican or if you're a politician, you're allowed to lie about objective facts. Like, it's totally fine, which is weird. So yeah, I don't. I'm not buying it. But like, I'm not buying the like Democrats soft on China. This is a huge deal. And you should read the article about it. It links into another article that goes further into the exact restrictions and things like that they did. More of that. It's fascinating. And look, Biden should get a lot of credit for that. Like, he should get a ton of fucking credit for that. Like, this guy has successfully rallied the world to the side of Ukraine as they have fought back against Russia. Like, literally, I shared a picture.
And again, we forget, because there's been a lot of distance and a lot's happened since then. We forget that, like, the American intelligence apparatus basically blew up Russia's spot, essentially. Like they basically called it out, called the shot, and Russia's like, oh shit, like what the fuck do we do now?
Surprise.
Because their big plan went up in smoke. It's already happening again. Like there's a story with Russia going around, specifically how their equivalent of Secretary of Defense was calling like allies like us and France and Britain and stuff like that to be like, oh, I hear that the Ukrainians are going to detonate a dirty bomb. And basically we were all like, oh, you mean y'all are going to detonate a dirty bomb and blame it on Ukraine? Like, yeah, like fucking, try that, please.
Yeah, like, again, I feel like that's a mistake on your part. Like, you're going to get your shit blown out of the water, man. Like, just stop. Just stop.
Yeah.
It's really quite fascinating, but it's a good story. It's a very good story. But again, like, he rallied the world to Ukraine's side. I mean, I literally sent you guys a picture that has been going around of a fucking Ukrainian helicopter flying over Russia traffic to avoid Russian radar inside Russia. It's a wild fucking image. I'm like, and these guys are like, they are making incursions into the country. It's fucking insane. Who would have thought? But it turns out Russia was kind of a fucking paper tiger.
Yeah.
Yeah. All that, we'll fucking destroy you. Will you? Like, because you got like a couple of farmers up there like trying to run lead on your military operations. This shit is not working, dude. It's not. But he did that, and he's actually fighting against China. Like, the ability to use the U.S. military not as a direct weapon, but as a soft, like, in a way, a soft power to defend a democracy is something to actually behold, man. Like,
and by the way,
this is what it should be used for.
This is what you want. Like progressives that complain about how militaristic like we are as a nation, how many times we're throwing soldiers into combat situations and stuff like that. This should be what you want. Like, if we're going to spend gobs of billions of dollars on defense, might as well at least go towards protecting our global interests from a soft perspective. And so we're not putting Americans in harm's way, but we're still supporting efforts. And again, like that, there's some hairy stuff you can certainly get into with that. We all lived through the fucking 80s and communist proxy wars and shit like that.
Sure.
But in this case, where it's very clearly one country being a bully, being the aggressor against a smaller nation that's just trying to defend their sovereignty, this is what you want. Like this is where you want the American military apparatus to be funneling their resources, not necessarily our human resources, but our financial and technological resources.
Right. And look, if you want to find out, like, you want to like sort of get a better example or like a stronger level of detail. There's a documentary about like sort of a small organization fighting a huge country and winning. At the end of the documentary, they actually go into this whole thing about like, the makers of this documentary support the Mujahideen. The movie, I don't know if you've heard of this, it's called Rambo 3.
As soon as you said the part of the vision,
you're like, ha!
I knew exactly what you were talking about.
That's a wild moment in history, dude. Like, yeah, the Mujahideen, those guys are awesome. Like, Rambo, no. Don't do it. Please don't do that. It's a wild fucking little note there. All right. So again, this episode is a short one, right? It's just going to be an hour. But we would be remiss if we left this episode without giving a shout out to our boys. Back in the day when Andy used to be on the show, but back in the day, Jack Burkman and Jacob Wohl, they're back in the news. I miss them. I truly do.
For all the best reasons.
Yes. Right-wing operatives Jacob Wohl and Jack Burkman plead guilty in voter suppression scheme by discouraging residents of minority neighborhoods from voting by mail in the 2020 election. The two right-wing political jackasses have pled guilty in Ohio because they did a robocall to a bunch of minority areas with this, like, it was so stupid because it's like, hey, this call is brought to you by Jack Burkman and Jacob Wohl for integrity of elections. And like, you know, hey, you know, they're going to come check on you if you're voting, you know, if you got a warrant or all this stuff, and trying to like dissuade black people from voting and stuff like that. Again, none of this is a surprise when right wingers go, no, it's Democrats who cheated elections. Here are two right wing political operatives. It is inarguable that these guys are right wingers trying to stop minority voters who are totally innocent from voting, because black people voting, Latin people voting, poor white people in cities who are liberal or more progressive minded, Democratic voters in general, when they come out, Republicans lose. That is a simple equation. That is why voter suppression is the number one thing you want from Republicans, because if they can just get you motherfuckers to stay home, they can win. That's it. Mm-hmm. They don't have to worry about messaging. They don't have to worry about policy.
It's really the only way they can win, because we've said many times, and it's true, there are more registered Democrats in this country than there are Republicans. And if Democrats could turn out at the rate that Republicans do on the regular, in a lot of these like close statewide races,
Republicans would never win.
It would be very close.
Yeah. So look, they, when announcing their indictments in 2020, prosecutors in Ohio said that Mr. Burkman and Mr. Wohl used a voice broadcasting service provider to place more than 67,000 calls across Midwestern states. More than 8,100 of them went to telephone numbers in Cleveland and East Cleveland, and about 3,400 were answered by a person or went to voicemail. And that was enough, because those guys started crossing state lines. Oops. So that's a federal charge. Where is it? They face up to a year in prison and a fine of $2,500 when they were sentenced November 29th. Look, I think it should be a lot worse than that. I would like to see a year in prison for every phone call that went through.
That'd be crazy, but I mean, yes, that would be fucking
I don't
hilarious.
understand why robocalling isn't a worse offense.
Well, it should be. And again, talk about an issue that Democrats could fucking speak on that would fucking actually impact the lives of Americans. Like, that's something you could easily do. I don't know why no one talks about it. But this is on top of, they were fined $5 million by the FCC for these robocalls. They still have a federal suit in litigation against them for the same situation, and DOJ is contemplating whether or not they want to bring a federal criminal charge against them as well. So they are far from out of the woods with this current situation. Fortunately for them, they'll have up to a year to think about their defense while sitting in a jail cell somewhere in Cleveland.
God bless. I love it. I absolutely love it. Yeah, it's gonna be something else, man. It's gonna be something else to watch this implode their entire careers. Look, they got, Jacob Wohl famously got banned from being able to trade stocks because he was running a scheme.
He's 24, by the way, Jacob Wohl.
Is it worth it, dude? Remember he had like an OnlyFans? Like this guy's all over the place.
Consider that this dude basically left high school and was like, time to start grifting, baby. As soon as he got out, he's like, I'm gonna fucking commit all the crimes.
Yeah,
it's gonna be great.
Look, he's gonna get bit in the ass by one of these cases, like in a big way. He will eventually. If it's not this one, eventually. Because look, they're not going to stop. They're not going to stop. Like if they
get a fucking year in prison and a $5 million fine's enough disincentive to finally put the kibosh on this shit.
No. Look, here's the thing. I don't want them to stop. I want them to keep trying because they're so bad. They're like the wet bandits from Home Alone. They're so bad at this.
They are literally the wet bandits of fucking of rat fucking.
Yeah, they really are, right? Like you got your Roger Stones, like top level rat fucking. These guys are like turn the sink on and clog it and then leave. Oh, we got them. But look, one thing that I will always miss, and I am so upset that you and I did not get to participate in this, are the press conferences, man. Those sham press conferences just outside of DC.
My all-time favorite is Elizabeth Warren's secret S&M freak.
Yeah, Elizabeth Warren just going to work on a 24-year-old Marine. Apparently, like just laying it down. To the point where she put a huge bruise on his back, and that idiot went up there and was like, yeah, that's what happened. Me and Elizabeth Warren getting it on. And someone in the crowd, a journalist or someone with just basic knowledge, was like, I'm on your Instagram, and it says that you got this bruise from a swing set that you put up last summer. And he was like, none of that is true. Dude,
that was easily my favorite one. What else was there? There's secret lesbian Kamala Harris.
Yes.
was one of the ones. What was the first big one? It wasn't the Warren thing. What was the first huge one? I don't remember it now.
Was it Bernie Sanders or something?
No, it wasn't Bernie. This is gonna bug me. Now I need to open a fucking anonymous tab because I don't need my algorithms getting jacked up.
I feel like the press conferences were fucking awesome, man.
I know, but I'm saying like the first big one, the ones that put them on our radar. What the fuck was? It's gonna bug me now. You got to van for time while I'm quickly googling.
All right, yeah, like the fact that was so close to us and we didn't have a chance to go is like I think that is probably.
I know, we really should have.
We
really should have.
Yeah, it's like. That and Jacob Wohl, like you said, he's 20. Wow, he looks crazy. This dude's 24 years old. He's 24. Yeah, Democratic. He did something against Joe Biden, Hillary Clinton, Kamala Harris, Ilhan Omar. Elizabeth
that's
Warren.
right. That's right. It was Pete Buttigieg. That's what that he sexually assaulted somebody. That was the first big
yes, one. Yeah. Oh, there was the Robert Mueller one. That was the big one.
Yes.
Where he was going to take down Robert Mueller. That's right. Holy shit. Yeah, he said, it was, he basically had somebody say they went to school with Robert Mueller and they signed an affidavit that he raped her. Like he offered $20,000 for a falsely signed affidavit accusing Robert Mueller of sexual misconduct and work harassment.
Yes,
yeah, dude.
That's right.
The fact that he didn't get thrown in jail for that is crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, like you said, Republicans can lie without consequence, and it's no big deal. But hey, could try to tangibly commit voter suppression, and I guess if you're not clever about it, then they'll finally consequences will catch up with you eventually, I suppose.
Yes. Oh, okay. Hold on. I have to read the Elizabeth Warren because, by the way, on Jacob Wohl's Wikipedia, they have a breakdown of all of them. It's awesome. It's of every single one of the press conferences.
God bless you, Wikipedia.
This is amazing. Elizabeth Warren. On October 3rd, 2019, Wohl and Burkman held a press conference alleging that Elizabeth Warren, Massachusetts senator and then 2020 presidential candidate, had engaged in an extramarital affair with a 24-year-old U.S. Marine. They allege that Warren hired the man from a website called Cowboys for Angels, described as a site for attractive young men who provide companionship, escort services to well-heeled women. Okay. Wohl and Burkman claimed that Warren had hired the man to engage in BDSM with her and told him she was in an open relationship with her husband. The accuser also showed a supposed sex scar, which was later debunked when it discovered that the accuser had previously posted on social media that the picture of the same scar and stated that he had hit his back with a chain during trying to take down a swing. Damn, my memory's pretty good. The The conference was
all I remember is that she later someone tweeted something about like the Houston Cougars and
okay, so yes. So it was that like the Houston Cougars like sign was like it was like something like basically like a kind of like 2 in the pink, 1 in the stink sign. I fucking hate. But like she was like, yeah, hell yeah, like to the school or something like that. Like she was fully aware of how fucking ridiculous it was and like played into it.
Yes.
Yeah. So the conference was met with mockery and disbelief in the media, rightfully so, and the claim was widely assumed to be another of Wohl and Burkman's false allegations. Posting on Twitter, NBC News reporter Ben Collins joked, quote, "Congratulations to Elizabeth Warren on rising so quickly in the polls. She forced Jacob Wohl to write erotica about her." Warren herself.
I remember. Like she tweeted later in response to it. This is quoting from Liz Warren's Twitter. "It's always a good day to be reminded that I got where I am because of a great education was available for $50 a semester at the $50 semester at the University of Houston. Go Cougars! We need to cancel student debt and make college free for everyone who wants it."
I love it, man. I love it. Oh my god. Yeah, so she says, it was like, yeah, go Cougars is like, which is also a slang term for women who pursue younger men. It's awesome. That was a fucking classic one. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. They went after Anthony Fauci at one point. I forgot Jacob Wohl, most famous for his hipster coffee shop thing.
That's right. Yes, he was the hipster coffee shop guy.
I just left a hipster coffee shop and I overheard Liz praising Donald Trump. Shut the fuck up, dude. Holy shit. This guy sucks. This guy fucking sucks. But he's been banned from all social media. So there you go.
Well, safe home. Enjoy your new indoctrination into the Aryan Brotherhood. It will be a hell of a time, I'm sure. So
yeah, good luck with the whole neck tattoo thing. Best of luck with all that. All right, that is it for us for this this short episode. Again, you'll be able to hear this episode and at the same time the debate commentary and everything will be out. Both things will be in the feed. So look forward to that, and we will see you guys next time.
See you.
Bye.
Okay, that's the end of the free portion for this week's episode of Look Forward. Make sure you go to lookforwardshow.com/premium. Sign up for premium content. It's only $5 a month or $50 for the full year.